Welcome to the Elevated Chat Room. It's Dwayne Malone, and right here, your host, Mr. Lonzo Jones. Today, we're going to have a great episode. Lonzo, take it off.
All right, like he said, welcome to the Elevated Chat Room. Once again, we got special guests with us. Before I introduce them, I'm going to tell you guys what the topic is. Topic for tonight is Journey to Joy, a couple's path through mental health. We got Blake and Maggie Stutts with us. She is a counselor, and he is a top car salesman.
Let's go.
I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Y'all, take it over. Either one. I don't care who goes first.
Like he said, my name is Maggie, and was born and raised in Richmond, Virginia. Found myself down here going to University of North Alabama.
Sweet.
And pursued a path into counseling and mental health. So I've been a counselor for about 10, 11 years now.
Okay.
And love what I do. Passionate about mental health.
Okay. That's what's up. We need people that's passionate about what they do, especially in the mental health field. So we appreciate that.
For sure.
All right, Mr. Blake, tell us a little something about yourself, man, with the fresh beard over there.
Let's go.
I'm Blake Stutts, born and raised here in the Shoals. Grew up here. Like I said, I work at Long Lewis. Been there 9 years. Been in the car business for 13 years.
Okay.
Been married to my beautiful wife almost 9 years coming this fall. So
I love it.
we got a little boy. He's 2.5 years old. He's a handful, wide open. Just started walking. So
Sweet. That's how little boys are supposed to be, man. You want them wide open.
I love it. I love it. So, but yeah, we're glad to be here and look forward to trying to pour into this podcast.
All right, well, let's get it, man. First question we got on deck right here is, like I said, like we're gonna be real laid back. So, so just flow however you want to flow. So my first question is this: how have your personal experiences with managing your mental health shaped your relationship journey? You guys together, how has that played a role in your journey?
So I would say in the field that I work in, if you've got a brain, you've got mental health, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like if you've got a heart, you've got cardiac health. If you have teeth, you're going to have dental health. So
I like that.
The stigma is getting less and less all the time. And that's what we love to hear as providers in the mental health world. So I would say that, I've had a personal challenge with mental health throughout my life, and being young and you meet somebody, whatever you've experienced prior to getting into a relationship, like you bring with you.
That's right.
And I say this to myself and I say this to my clients a lot, you take your brain with you everywhere you go. So if you're not paying attention to what your brain's telling you or what your body's experiencing, things can kind of snowball if you're not aware of, hey, this is what I'm feeling and where's this coming from. So I know for me, I have kind of always had a baseline of anxiety throughout my life, and brought that into our relationship. But over the years, my awareness and treatment of that has definitely grown, especially in the context of our marriage too.
Okay. So what about you, Blake? How has your mental health impacted, or what's your personal experience managing your mental health within a relationship?
Well, I think before Maggie and I, started dating and got married and everything, for me, growing up in a home with just one parent, and I didn't have a father figure, so had to grow up a little bit quicker than most kids. But my, I guess, coping was to be resilient in bull rush life, and started that at a young age and carried that on through relationships, I'm sure, and did not manage that. But as Maggie and I had been together, it was probably, let's see here, 6 or 7 years. I knew that I needed to do something. And as a male, the stigma of, talking to somebody, you're always, prideful.
Come on.
You're prideful. I don't need no help. I don't need anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of, it's pride. That's all
Yes.
it is. So I knew that if I didn't do something, that, it was going to continue to affect my marriage, affect my everyday life, carry that on whether it be at work, whether it be at home, church, wherever, you have that that time to either you're going to work on yourself or you're going to continue to get worse. So for me, seeking professional help, finding out that I had some ailments, anxiety, depression, things like that were causing those things. And with Maggie's help in the field that she's in, she's like, you need to talk to somebody. You need to talk to somebody. So finally I caved in, and I did that in 2019 and continue that going on.
So when you say so what did depression look like for you, if you don't mind sharing? Like, what did that look like when you say you could see that if you kept going down that road, the negative effect that was going to have on your marriage? Like, where were you going if you didn't get help? Let's just answer that one.
Well, it affects everybody differently.
Okay.
So depression's different for each person. For me, I had more of the anxiety side with some signs of depression. Growing up and having to deal with different things and not being able to express those feelings, you hold it in.
Come on.
It pulls you down.
Come on.
I mean, you don't have nobody to talk to. You feel like you're on an island, and those feelings and those thoughts can really, you're battling what's between your ears.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
So yes, you can talk to your wife. Yes, you can do this. Obviously in her profession, her career that she's great at, she can give you so much, but she can't be my counselor. She can be my helpmate. She can be my wife.
Mm-hmm.
She's my left and right arms most of the time. But when it comes down to it, you've got to reach out to somebody that is on a professional level. But for the depression side of it, how I handled that, or how that was expressed, I'd have periods of how I would, in a conversation and cut somebody off at the knees, or I would retaliate in a way that verbally wasn't pleasing.
Okay.
I remember when it was starting to get real bad, she gave me an acronym, and it's just a word, and it's the acronym, or the words thank.
Okay.
THINK, just like thank. And if you look that up and you can Google it, it's pretty awesome. But she actually printed me off something in color to put on my desk. At this time, I was a manager. I was managing a small team of people, and thank stands for, is it thoughtful? Is it help? Or is it true? Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Or is it kind?
Mm-hmm.
And before you say those words, think and remember that acronym. Is it true? Is it helpful, inspiring, necessary, or kind?
That's good.
And I still do that today, even though at this time, still, professional help and those little nuggets that you get, like that, it helped me until the point that I got, professional. So,
That's good.
It helped me with those outbursts and the way that I would verbalize to people, which was some traits of depression and anxiety. So,
well, that's good stuff. You mentioned this. Either one of you guys or both, you can actually answer this one because I'm just piggybacking on something that you said. So, not having a father, how does that impact a child's mental health? Not having a father figure around. You can speak from a personal experience. You can speak from professional. Either way, or one or the other, whichever one wants to handle it.
From a professional standpoint, there's just typically a void that's there, something that doesn't ever feel really resolved or fulfilled. We both personally believe that male and female influence in a child's life is so important. Like, they each have their place, and it's just important to have both components. And for him, his grandfather was a big role model that I think helped
Good stuff.
fill that. But I know that just from that professional lens, everyone is going to deal with it differently. But oftentimes, if you've got a missing or absent parent, it usually manifests in some way that either needs to be discussed, or maybe patterns that you see that are not healthy in your life. If you don't really have that outlet to talk about it and process that, because it's a big deal.
Yeah. We know that it's a big deal from our interaction with the youth. Like I said, we just went to the detention center on yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and Now this time we didn't do it, but normally when we'll ask them, like, raise your hand if your father's in your life. And if there's 20 kids in there, only about 17 or 18 is gonna is actually gonna raise their hand and say their dad is in their life. So the common denominator that we've seen from a lot of things is the fact that these kids don't have that father figure, and that father is, and it's detrimental to their psyche. But you want to add anything there? You good to go?
Well, I think saying more be saying less. I mean, I did have a father figure. My granddad, he worked full time at Reynolds Metals. So, I'd see him either in the evening when he was going to bed, or sometimes depending on what shift he was on. We had a small cattle farm, not a bunch of cows, but I mean, it helped me with some work ethic, and gave me some good principles in life that is making me who I am today as far as work ethic and things like that. But it's different when hey, let's go to the ball game. You got your dad on the fence line watching you play ball. There's just other things that I didn't get. Most the guys, gals that are around me that had both parents. And you're kind of and you get asked that question. They hear your last name. Who's your daddy? Who's your dad? And you're like, well, you get that droop, like, well, you don't know how to answer it. So that's depressing.
Oh man,
that's depressing that, in a way that you just feel like, how do you answer that question? So it's a big deal to me.
I mean, I can understand why. Because like my dad was in my life. Thank God, he was there. But like you said, I've seen kids. I've been around kids. Kids would ride home with us to practice, or ride to practice with us. We would pick them up because they didn't have a father figure, and sometimes it can turn into jealousy. Like you will sit there and you're helping. You know what I'm saying? My mom and dad is helping this particular kid go from A to B, doing their best to help him. And yet, jealousy comes in, and then like we fall out. You know what I'm saying? I ain't did nothing to him, but we fall out because he's missing that void, and he sees like how much my dad, is pouring into me.
Right.
And he's longing for that, and he acted out and really, I'm like, dude, we're on your side. Like there's nobody else trying to help you, but that's another story. But so let's you said something earlier. So I want, cause like, what is anxiety? Like, what I'm saying? Like people say anxiety all the time. Like, so what actually is anxiety?
It's a loaded question.
Right.
So anxiety in its core is just, it's an alert system.
Okay.
Really. We're all born with fight or flight.
Okay.
The caveman had it.
Yeah.
It's how he built his shelter and his weapons to defend himself and scavenge for food, all of those things. And if we didn't have anxiety, we wouldn't survive. And we've got to have that something that propels us forward to protect ourselves, to keep ourselves safe, to alert us to danger.
So it's kind of like spidey senses.
Exactly. Your little spidey sense that tells you like, ooh, something's off, or I don't know if I'm supposed to be in this situation, or this person doesn't feel safe to me because how they act or things that they say. And so that fear in us is no different than, the squirrel that runs out across the road and freezes. They're either going to freeze, they're going to fight, or they're going to run. And so there's a biological component there, but clinical anxiety is a bigger step forward, because we're all going to feel stressed. We're all going to feel anxious at different times. If you didn't have stress about school, you wouldn't get good grades. If you didn't have stress about performing at your job, you would probably get fired. But when it becomes the duration, the frequency and the intensity of fear, anxiousness, helplessness, if it becomes interfering with everyday life to the point that you can't go about doing things without this really severe interference, that can manifest in a lot of different ways, whether it's physically, you've heard people that have panic attacks, or sometimes just feel so overwhelmed they can't move forward to do the task that's in front of them, to racing thoughts, laying down at night, not being able to go to sleep. And we're not talking about situational. It can be situational, but to have a diagnosed anxiety disorder, this has to be pretty significant interference to the point where you're not able to move forward either without counseling, medication, maybe a combination of the two, to where I describe it as being able to feel relaxed and content in your own skin the majority of the time.
That makes sense. Hey, you have given the best answer that I have ever heard for anxiety, because, like with my motivational background, when I'm going to these schools and kids are talking about anxiety, or we're just discussing that topic, I'm like, well, anxiety is just negative thoughts about the future. When I'm trying to get them to shift their mindset, and I'm like, well, anxiety is like the negative. You just thinking negative, and all you see is negativity, and there's no hope. So we got to switch your mindset to shift from negative to positive things. So how do we do that? How do we get from there to there? So that's where I'm coming from. But you hit it on like a whole like high level professional, and it made sense too. Like you broke it down. It was high level, but it made sense. So that's good stuff. So let's go on to the next question. Unless Dwayne got something. Good. All right, well, let's go. So what role has professional counseling played in strengthening your relationship as a couple? How did you getting the help that you needed? How did that impact you guys' relationship?
I'll take that first.
Go for it.
So, at first I was a little bit hesitant, and I was like, oh, this snake oil is not going to work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
that's only natural to think that.
Yeah. Because you already resisted for so many years, but it was great. The counselor that I saw then, I currently still check in, and everything. But it at first gave me coping mechanisms and skills that I could do, without medication, things like that at the time. And, but it also gave me things to even voice to my wife. So she has a better understanding of the things that I'm going through versus holding those things in. And that all boils down to communication. But, as that counselor or therapist that pulls that out of you, and then let you know, these things right here are things that you should do or say or work together on to strengthen your relationship, to do better, and then also help with those things of anxiety or depression, and just you continue that. And it's just like going to the gym. It's just like eating right. It's something that you're managing for your whole life.
Yes.
So continue to work on myself every day.
That's good.
Lean a lot on God.
Yes, sir.
What I'm saying? Put him first in everything you do. And then you get the help from others to bring that back home and pour that into your wife, your husband, or your family.
Yeah. Sound like you had to develop a new discipline.
100%.
Yeah. That's what I was getting from what you were saying. I was like, yeah, you had to, you was talking about developing and changing and doing this, and how you even gave the analogy to the gym. It's like, yeah, it sounds like you just really had to focus in on learning how to be disciplined and then walking that discipline out.
100%. And let me say this. It wasn't overnight. It wasn't in a week. It wasn't in a month. It wasn't in 2 months.
Come on.
I mean, this is something that you have to, and you've got to be all in. You can't just barely wait in there in your ankles and be like, yeah, I'm going to be good, Yeah. And I check marked that box. I went and seen and talked to this guy or this lady or somebody to help me. Yeah, it's like I said, it's an ongoing thing for your life. And when you have those situations where you feel like it's flared up, or that situation where you need somebody to talk to, anonymously, that's not in your core circle of friends. Yes. You're like, oh, my friend's going to say this. You don't know. I mean, this person don't know you.
Right.
So,
going to be truly vulnerable.
100%.
Which men have a problem being vulnerable.
100%.
Even with our spouses.
Yes.
Come on. Yes. Come on. Because even when you said communicate, like, I don't think our spouses understand how hard it is at times for us to communicate, because it's just so much, like so many emotions, and we're already playing out in our mind how you're going to react.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Based off past experiences, or just based off our own imagination, whatever the case may be. And so when you were saying like, it was just, learn how to communicate, man, I don't care how great your marriage is, you're still working on communication. Because
All
as
the
a
time.
man, it's tough sometimes to bring out certain issues. It's like, man, we don't want to have to deal with, you know what I'm saying, the attitude or y'all just not understanding where we're coming from, because as a man, we're thinking different. You know, we're looking all the way out, and we're trying to protect y'all too, because we already know like some stuff y'all already got enough stuff to handle. And so why would I bring this to you? You know what I'm saying? When I'm gonna handle it, it's just something that came up. So but anyways, that's what came to my mind. So the disciplined lifestyle,
Yes.
because it's a lifestyle change. And so, man, and like you said, though, you found something that was worth you doing it.
100%.
Good stuff.
100%.
I would say that from my perspective, I co-sign everything that he says. Over, like he said, we've been married almost 9 years, and we're just getting started. You are learning how to live with each other and respect each other and not bump heads. And I mean, that's life. But I think a situation that came to a head for us is in 2018, we started trying to have a family and hit so many roadblocks with that, struggled with infertility, and going into year 3 of actually like going into more intensive treatments, COVID hit. And so we had to stop fertility treatments after we had been trying for so many years. And that was something that was just like a stick of dynamite that kind of, for both of us, it was, well, what do we do now? The world's on pause and we don't want to put our family planning on pause. And so I've always been the type of person that if I can fix it, I'm going to. If I can push through it, if I can perfect my way out of it, if I can, we are both very much, let's get it done.
Yeah.
And then realizing none of this is in my control. And when you're at the mercy of the circumstances of the world and it's just you and God, and throwing your hands up and saying, I have zero control over any of this. That was a place and time that I sought out counseling as well. And that just, again, it helped me be able to communicate to him the things that were hard for me to communicate to him. Because you go through the motions so much of life. You got responsibilities, you got work, you're trying to keep a workout schedule, you're trying to see friends, all this, that, and the other. And so we found ourselves a lot just literally pushing through.
Autopilot.
Because you get to this point where it's just so difficult to acknowledge the things that really are so hard. Like, Lord, we've been praying for this baby. Where is it? And just trusting that if that never comes, we're still going to be okay and committed to each other. But having a professional that really helped me process my feelings to be able to talk to him in a way that he could understand, because I didn't know what to say. And I'm very transparent with anybody that I work with. Counselors need counselors. Brain surgeons can't do brain surgery on themselves.
Come on.
So,
Come on.
I have the skills and the tools and the education and the license to be able to help the person in front of me with their circumstances, but my circumstances are my own, and there's wounds that come with that too.
Yeah.
So having that space with this counselor that, he and I both, Blake and I both still do, check-ins with our counselors. If it's not regularly, we go through periods of times where we may check back in and have some sessions. And it's to kind of put a bow on that question of like, what role has professional counseling played in strengthening your relationship as a couple, is Blake and I are, if it needs to get done, we're going to handle it. But we need to learn how to lean towards each other and not work individually alongside each other.
I like that.
It's deep.
I think every marriage, that's good for any marriage.
Yes.
That's good stuff.
If you're not leaning on your spouse, and like, there's definitely times we thought we were leaning on each other, And it wasn't because either one of us were technically, you know, or doing anything wrong.
Mhm.
But like once we were able to kind of get deeper in our own understanding of self and know that we're a safe space for each other.
Mhm.
Okay, we're not problem solving separately. You're my person, I'm your helpmate. If there's no one else for us, it's each other.
That's-
And we have to sit with that, and we have to sit with each other in that.
That's good stuff. So you mentioned about, trying to have a child. So that's kind of going to lead me into my next question, which is, can you share a moment when you actually realized that you can have joy again? Like going through all that, like share a moment where you was like, man, you know what?
Look at the smile on her face.
I got some joy inside of me. Whoa. Give us a moment. Share that with us real quick.
Um,
Don't hold it back.
so yes, I mean, after 3 years, we had the answered prayer of being able to conceive, and we prayed and prayed and prayed for a healthy pregnancy. And, the joy of becoming parents was like none other.
Mhm.
And what's interesting is those moments of joy. My counselor actually told me this, and it stays with me always, but, the depth of the grief that you experience or the pain that you experience comes back tenfold with the joy, because you know what it feels like to be in despair over something that is agonizing, right? So for a woman and a man, but the woman being the one I'm designed to carry a child, I'm
Right.
designed to have a baby,
Yes.
not being able to do that and feeling like there was something wrong with me,
Oh.
and all the emotions that come with that, to know that may have never been a reality for me. And then holding my child in my hands right
Come on.
after he was born,
Come on.
the joy, there's no words.
Yeah.
Just because it's just got a rebound that goes so far the other way
Come
from
on.
where you were.
Yes, ma'am. See, I love that. And even like as they grow and as they start when they start being boys, being kids, you have to take yourself back to those despair moments to truly to continue to be able to appreciate, what God has blessed you with. Because there's going to be times, trust me, I got a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, and they all boy, both of them. So there's times where it's like, Lord Jesus, help me. You know what I'm saying? And then there's times where I put in bed at night and I walk out the room and I just stare at them.
Oh yeah.
It's just like, man.
Just look at him.
Yeah, you literally just stare at them.
Like you're a whole person. A whole person. You exist.
Yeah.
And like, holy cow,
Yeah,
You're-
I'm in charge of you.
Yeah. I gotta keep you going.
Right. I got to cultivate you, both of you guys. But that's awesome. What about you, Blake?
I think I can mimic what she's saying about, finding out, the joy of her being pregnant after the struggles that we went through for 3 years. Right before we found out that, I'll say not right before, it was about a year before. That's when I kind of started going through counseling and changed the position where I was working. And then, we're still trying to have a child during COVID and all that. And then, finding out that I come home and she got the pregnancy test. She's, got the mail on the counter, and she's like, "Did you see what come in the mail today?" And we've been waiting on like a refund on overpaying on a mortgage, or I forgot what it was, some kind of tax thing or something.
Yeah.
And so I was checking, and I was like, "Oh, let me see." And then boom, there's a pregnancy test. I mean, for real, I was just like, there ain't no way. I mean, because there's so much doubtfulness.
Yes.
Yes.
For so long.
Mhm.
What seemed like hundreds of negative pregnancy tests.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's no way.
For so long. And then, I mean, I was still kind of just I was like, I got to see this like on, like,
Yeah. I understand,
in
bro.
a hospital. So the joy of us going in, hearing that heartbeat, man, I mean, it's just, I don't really have words for it,
Yeah.
but, God bless us both to be able to go through that together.
Yeah.
Through the struggles, through the valleys,
Mm-hmm.
and then on the mountains, and then the joy, as he's here now.
Yeah.
You know? So it's definitely been a blessing on many ways. So
That's good stuff, man. Like we was just saying, it's just when you went through so much, it makes you go just that much harder as a parent. I know for me, because we went through some challenges to have our kids, and I told my wife, I'm like, look, we keep going. We're gonna try and try and try because I want to be a dad. And I was like, I'll do whatever. Like I told her I would be the best dad anybody's ever seen on this earth, and I still do it to this day. Like, because I want them to know that daddy loves them. Like, I truly love you. Like, it ain't nothing that you ever gonna do. Because once you build a relationship with them, I don't care what my boys do. I'm gonna love them. You know what I'm saying? I may be disappointed in them if they do something wrong, but I'm gonna love you.
100%.
You see what I'm saying? And then, like, I'm there. Like, you'll never say daddy wasn't there. So when you grow up to be a man, you can never say nobody modeled it for you. So I got high expectations for y'all. You know, like real talk. Like, if we don't set expectations for them, then what do they have to aim for? You know. So, but that's just how it affected me. I was like, man, I'm going all in because God, you done blessed me with this. Like, I'm not gonna take it for granted. I'm gonna love them. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna do whatever I need to do. But also, when I put them at bed tonight, I need that break. I need that mental rest. You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
So, anything else? Go
I
ahead.
got a quick question for Blake. So, listening to your story and you're talking about the absence of your own father, how did it help shape you or motivate you or inspire you to become, I would say, probably to be more intentional as being a father for your own son?
Oh yeah, man. I tell you what, that's a
good question.
It's a great question. You know, I told Maggie, you know, I'm not going to be the father where he's going to say, you know, my dad wasn't there. And I here lately, I've just been there. I've been, you know, where I would work late. I mean, here lately, I've been having to work late nights and some things, you know, trying to hire somebody to work with me. But, you know, I just shut it down and go home because I want to be home to see this beautiful woman right here.
Yes.
Holding my boy and come through that door.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he just lights up like he
does.
He goes,
wow.
You know, and it's so to come home and know that I've got a family that loves me. You know, my wife, my son, and it's a joy to come home and see that and feel that. There's no prize. There's no nothing that can be any better than that.
Yeah.
And it's just the love that a child has. They're so innocent.
Unconditional love.
You know, so innocent. And they, you know, they like you said, could do no wrong.
Yeah.
But I mean, for him, you know, I'm going to be there and I'm going to continue to pour into him. We do have, and we may bring this up at some point. It might be another meeting, but you know, he has a genetic disorder and some different things that that's going to ail him growing up that you can't take away. You know, and God has blessed us with physicians, with a core group of Christians. The wife right here, she's like the biggest researcher in the world.
Oh yeah.
And she's great. So, I mean, with both of us being there, it's going to be great, but I'm not going to not be there.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, I had a father figure, but I didn't have that in home every day, come home to, you know, and I don't want that for him. And I'm not going to be that for him. I'm going to be there. You're
going to be everything that you wanted in a father
100%.
and more.
Good.
And he is that and more.
That's good stuff.
Oh, I believe it.
I mean, I will toot his horn all day because I know of people that there is a father in the home, but they're not active.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And so he gets up every morning with him because he knows that there's the potential for him to work late every night. He doesn't always work late every night, but come rain or shine, no matter what the situation is, he is up with him in the morning for his first feed. And, you know, that's their time together because I usually have him in the evenings solo for a few hours before he gets home. But, you know, it is he is on his mind all the time, and he adjusts and adapts and does everything that he can for him.
That's good.
And it's organic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. It's like living out what he wished he could have had as a kid.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not just saying I'm going to be there for him. Like, our little boy just adores him.
Yeah.
And he can't say a lot yet. He's got a bit of a speech delay, but this is the sign for Dada, and he signs it all the time.
Good
He
sign.
hears a car rev up because his Bronco makes a big room, and he'll sign Dada, thinking that he's coming home. So, yeah.
Oh, man, that's wonderful.
I don't think a lot of fathers understand how much weight they carry in the home. Because if they did, they would be more intentional. Like, literally, they would sacrifice, their own wants and needs for time with the kid. Not just, now, you got fathers that like to buy gifts, like to buy presents to replace their presents.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that's my thing, like, you can't do that. Because a kid knows. Like, a kid ain't gonna remember what gift he got at 3 and 4, but he's gonna remember, was daddy at his ball games? Was daddy there cheering them on? Was daddy there eating dinner with them? Was daddy helping with homework? They know everything, because my sons know in our home who does everything. Who's doing food, who's doing the clothes, who's putting the bed, who's bathing who. So they know, like, it's because it's ingrained in them. So whatever role you play as a mother and a father, they're gonna remember that. So keep doing what you guys are doing, and don't take your role, to be lightly. I promise you, as that son grows up, you will be his role model. I was fortunate this past about a few weeks ago to be one of the interviewers for the Muscle Shoals Ambassadors. And one of the questions we asked was, who was your role model and why? And one of the kids said, well, I know it may sound cliche, but my dad. I was like, man, that ain't cliche. That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I said, if anybody, like if my sons get to a certain age, they have to say they're looking up to somebody else, like in a serious moment, then I feel like I'm failing them in some way. You know what I'm saying? So just keep doing what you're doing, man. And you too, Miss Stutts. and it's expected for the wife or the mother to hold it down. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's expected. Oh, mama gonna do that. Mama gonna love on mama. But it should be expected for the man to do it, for the husband to do it, for the father to do it. But when it's done exceptional. As a man, we like to be praised. Like, not like just over the top with it, but see us.
His number one love language is words of affirmation.
Come on. We need it.
Yeah. No, I know that. I mean,
like what you just did for him, and you said no, like he like that builds him up. That gives him that extra energy to keep going, to do even more. Yeah. So keep doing it, keep building him up. Like when he come home, you know what I'm saying? Like the home should be peaceful. Yeah. Like you see what I'm saying? Like and but keep doing what you guys are doing, because it builds a strong family. Strong family builds a strong community. Strong community builds everything else from there.
That's right.
That's right. You got something else?
No, we're ready for the next question.
All right. You guys are kind of already tapped on this, but you said about doing little check-ins with your counselor. Mm-hmm. But so what other ways do you maintain wellness as a couple?
For me, I think a couple different things. We are a couple, but we were Blake and Maggie individually first. Yeah. And so once a month I have a girls' night with my best friends.
Sweet.
Every Wednesday morning he goes to a men's group with church. He goes at 6:30. And so it's just me and little man in the morning. And I'm always late wherever I go. I don't have him here. He's always, he's holding it down for me. So I'm always coming in on two wheels. But
story of my life too.
I mean, I've always kind of been a little bit late, you know?
Yeah.
But so we have our own hobbies and our own interests, but we always prioritize each other and what we need from each other first. Like he had the opportunity to go do something the other night, and he called me and he's like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, go, that's great." And we make sure that we are intentional with our time. Not always, because we live in 2024 and there's distractions, right?
Yes.
Like gadgets and
Yes.
Netflix and your phone and all of that. But up next to words of affirmation for him, both of our top is quality time.
QT.
So, and we reserve Sundays 99% of the time as our family day because he works every Saturday.
Okay.
So, in addition to us taking care of ourselves through our own mental well-being, just leaning into each other, pouring into each other, respecting the likes and interests that we each have individually. But kind of having those boundaries of like, these are the things that are most important to us.
Yeah.
And we gotta, it's us,
Yeah.
Sweet. What about you?
So it's against the world.
Let's go. Keep it simple.
I mean,
Yeah.
no, like she's saying, other than the check-ins, being intentional with each other, date nights, being together, quality time, it gives us quiet time together where we can bounce things off each other. Like she said, for me, I do have my men's group every Wednesday morning that we've consistently had going for about 2 years now. I love that it's at 6:30 in the morning. I do miss that small time with my son on Wednesday mornings, but you got to make time for Jesus.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's,
Yeah.
he comes first before any of us. So, having that time with other men and that brotherhood of men that all comes together. And I love that it's early in the morning, because in the evening time, I want to come home and spend the time with my family. So, as far as, anything outside of that, like she said, there's certain things that comes up, that little events every now and then that I can go to, either work events or things. And she's always, backing me on, yeah, make it happen, So, it helps continue, keeping you well, other than having your check-ins with your, your core group or your mental health therapist or your counselor or whoever it may be. I think it just is a well-rounded, all together in one package is how you continue that journey to be well.
That sounds that sounds exactly, it's like you guys are speaking each other's love languages, and you're putting family first outside of, a relationship with Christ. It sounds like a recipe for success.
For sure.
Sounds pretty good. Now my question would be, I know that as a car salesman, y'all work a whole lot of hours. Like I had a homeboy in Huntsville that was working for, I think it was the Kia place. And he eventually had to leave because of just the demand of his time. He wasn't able to get to his son's games. And his son was a teenager. So he was really missing out on some important hours, some important years. So what is your schedule like? Like where you getting time? Because I know as a car salesman, you out there getting it.
Yeah, it's a blessing and it's a curse. So I guess my biggest curse of being a car salesman is my phone.
Okay.
And I try to be intentional when I'm at home to not focus on it. But the beauty of being in the car business for so long, for 13 years, and where I work, Long Lewis is a faith-based organization.
Let's go. I was going to answer that question for you. I already know how.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So they are very family oriented.
Sweet.
And that's another reason why that I love working there. I've worked at another dealership that was ran similarly to Long Lewis.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody can say that Long Lewis is not the best company to work for. Employees first, customer second, profit, volume third, profit last. Most car dealerships has that flip.
Yeah.
Profit first, volume, customers. You know what I'm saying? So if your employees are happy, your customers be happy, the volume come, the profit will come.
Yes, sir.
So I say all that to say, and get back to the root of the question, how do you make time? Well, when you reach a certain position as a salesperson and you sell enough cars, they do give you the beauty to make your own schedule. So you have the opportunity to come and go as you please, as long as you maintain that level of sales.
Yeah.
And for so long. So it's really a double-edged sword though. Because you didn't get there by coming and going as you please.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's where that phone comes in. That person that's calling or texting you, you want to respond back to them, because if you don't, they're going to find somebody that does.
Yeah.
We're in a society now that is instant gratification on everything. And in the profession, in the career that I am, not the job, but the career, because this is my career. I'm not doing anything else for the rest of my life because I love what I do.
Yeah.
For me, most people only visit 1.2 dealerships before they buy a vehicle. That's a true stat, 1.2. And I'll tell you why. 10, 15 years ago, it was 3. You know what cut it in half?
What's that? Cell phone.
Cell phone.
It makes sense though. Because
you can shop from your phone.
Yeah.
I mean,
you know what you want.
Yeah. I mean, when I go look at a TV, I may spend more than 10 minutes. She gets mad at me. But I mean, I know what I'm going in after.
Yeah.
Same thing with the car. They already know what they want. They already know what horsepower is. They already know what the capacity is. They know how many people it'll hold. So you've got to be that person that makes sure you have the knowledge and, the charisma to take care of that person where they want to buy a vehicle from you. So I try to do that while I'm at work. And then when I get home, I try to be home. So it's sometimes hard. Like I said, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
So she is such a great wife. I know I keep saying that because I really believe it.
Oh, that's good. You say it as much as you want.
But you know what I'm saying?
She understands.
She understands. Yes. I mean, she met me in the position that I'm in now, as far as my career.
Because I bought a car from him.
I sold her a car.
Oh.
So nobody can say I'm a good car salesman. Just look at my wife.
But he said that's how I got my wife.
Yeah. So, but I hope that answered the question.
Yeah. Because I've always wanted that. Because like I said, my friend, he had to quit his, but he wasn't working for a owner or company that was as family oriented.
Yes.
As Long Lewis. So that's big.
And ministry driven.
Yeah.
For sure.
Most places aren't.
Right.
And that's why the stigma of a dealership is somebody walks up in there and you got to tear down that wall. That, they're those slick back hair. I'm going to spend 8 hours here trying to buy a car. You know what you want? You come in, you go in an hour and a half at the most.
And normally when someone buys a car from you, they come back.
For sure.
Because I know for me, like I'm from Tuscaloosa. So I bought my first Challenger from Mark Dillon down in Tuscaloosa. So when there's time for me to trade up, I call Mark Dillon in Tuscaloosa. When it was time for my wife to get hers, seriously, then she traded up. Like every vehicle we bought from them, but he's retired now. So now I got to find a new.
Blake Stutts. I did several with Blake Stutts.
We're going to get Todd to get a CDJR dealership, please.
But see, I'm a big Dodge fan. I love the Challengers. But I'm not going to buy no car no time soon. I got these 2 boys, and so it'll be a while. Unless my side hustle start taking off even more. Then
let's go.
Now I come splurge,
Manifest.
Let's go.
Oh man, that's good stuff.
Listen to the salesman assistant right there.
Yeah. It all comes through the house. That's, you know what I'm saying? We all benefit.
No, we good. We ready. We're ready. Yes.
So what advice would you guys give to couples facing similar mental health challenges? What advice would you give to couples?
Blake and I have said this often amongst just us, but the amount of life that we've experienced in the time that we have been together, many people haven't experienced in a lifetime. And that's not we got it worse than anybody else. It's just the hits that we've dealt with over the past 8.5 years. I mean, they've been pretty strong, and life doesn't stop lifing,
Right.
I mean, it's every day. You're not ever always going to know the whole journey. And so even if you as an individual have never struggled with a mental health diagnosis or a history of mental health in your family, there's inevitably something that's going to happen in your life, whether it's something that someone else doesn't think is a big deal, but it's a big deal to you, or it's very, very traumatic or tragic. Mm-hmm. And there's just no way that you can get through life unscathed by something. Mm-hmm. And so in the context of our marriage, the things that had the ability to really drive us apart, and at times was a struggle to work through, mm-hmm. because they're just difficult circumstances. You're not immune, and you're not immune from the hardships of life.
Right.
And so the advice that I would give to any couples facing a mental health challenge is to know that that's not the end of you. There is help out there. There are resources. If you don't know where to start, confide in somebody that you trust. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm feeling this way, or, between spouses, we're dealing with this issue with somebody that you can take it to, that's going to listen, that is going to give you that safe space to talk about, and reach out and up.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. You got anything you want to add to that? You cooling over there.
Saying more will be saying less. She hit it. I mean, everything she said is good. Having that person you can confide in and tell someone. Yeah.
And just know that if you're feeling it, someone else is feeling it.
See, that right there is big. I just saw a clip on Instagram today, and it's a pastor. He was talking about learning to normalize your difficulties. Mm-hmm. Instead of making it seem like it's just so special to you that no one in the world understands or ever been through. He was like, no. He was like, you have got to stop putting so much energy and weight to things that we go through in life, or especially our marriages. He was like, what you're going through in your marriage, everybody goes mm-hmm. through at some point.
At some point.
Like, and you would think that, no, man, this is just special to me. It's like, no, because me and Dwayne, we'll be riding somewhere, we'll be talking for like an hour. And he was like, bro, that's the same thing. Bro, that's the same, bro. Yeah. Like, hey, we all are dealing with a lot of the same issues. And a lot of times it still comes back down to communicating, mm-hmm. Sacrificing, and serving. Oh. That's what I've seen. Yep. That maybe one or the other is not, or we're not communicating well. We're not serving each other the way we should be serving, and we're not sacrificing at a high enough level. Yep. Even sometimes I found that we will love somebody in our love language and not theirs. So, and it took a while, or you can be loving something. Like my wife's love language is gifts, and instead of her just telling me or giving me a list like, hey, this is what I'm liking for Christmas or birthday, she wants me to figure it all out. And I'm trying to make it easier on us.
Yeah.
But it took me a while to get to the point to where I would actually just pay attention to everything. Oh, she said she wanted this. Oh, she said she liked that. Now, I don't like to spend a lot of money on gifts though. But in order for me on a birthday or Christmas, I know I got to spend some money. So it's like I'm sacrificing. Like that. Like I could be. I could do this $300-$400. So
you got to quit being egocentric when it comes to loving your spouse.
Yeah,
because we are inherently selfish people.
Yes.
I want what I want, when I want it, how I want it. And you mean I got to do this for you because, but I want to go spend this money on this, or I'd rather be, and that's not bad behavior. It's just human nature. It's human nature to want to just do for yourself.
Yeah.
And so I've learned that more even as a parent, sacrificing the things that I want to do, or maybe that I used to get to do, because not only do I want to have a relationship with my son, he deserves that.
Yeah.
It can't just be all about him or me all the time.
Yeah. It's funny you brought kids up in there, because I see, this is not everybody, but I see to where like a wife will sacrifice for the son or the child more than they sacrifice for their spouse. And the spouse will be looking at it like, look, you just forgot about me.
Yeah.
You know, but you will see them, they'll do it so gracefully and
naturally,
unconditional. It's like, and then you look at him, it's like, oh, it's a job. You know what I'm saying? Like,
my sweet baby is just sleeping the most precious, but I look over at him when he's snoring and I'm like,
but I'm saying like we always, like I always say, it's like, man, if we could love our spouses the way we love our kids, like just think about the purity of the love that that mother and father show their kids. If we could turn around and show that to our spouse, your marriage would be, I mean, amazing. Like amazing marriage. Because like, you know what? I know my wife loves me without a shadow of a doubt. I know my husband really cares about me. Like he, not only does he say it, he shows me. Like I heard this guy, he was talking about, man, we should not show more respect to our boss than we show our spouse. Like we'll go to work and we'll have so much respect for our boss, whether it's male or female. I mean, we'll have them wail up here, then you come home and it's like you talking crazy, or you know you short, you irritated, but you don't be irritated at work,
right? So
it's just certain things that I pay attention to that when we're talking to couples or when we're talking to just people in general, that it's like, look, man, we got to pay attention to this stuff because like we have to be intentional. Like if your wife love language is A and B, man, we got to do A and B. It don't matter how, you know, how we feel about it. We got to get it done.
And we fall short on this a lot because we're far from perfect, but we did premarital counseling before we got married, and our pastor set a great model for marriage and loving your spouse is God first, spouse second, kids third, work last. And so when those things start to get out of whack for both of us, we got to come back to the table and say, how am I loving him? How is he loving me? And something that he did for me, I probably didn't even tell him this, but we were on vacation, a little mini vacation a couple weeks ago, and I had what I thought was food poisoning or stomach bug or something. And so I couldn't eat for a couple of days. And so we finally got some food to go. And I was like, I need like bread and some pasta, like mac and cheese, like something real soft. And so we ordered takeout from Cracker Barrel. And I was eating some biscuits. I was like, man, I wish I had asked you to get blackberry jam for me, because he knows I always get blackberry jam at Cracker Barrel. And he just...
Let's go.
And I'm like, like it was an act of service in that moment that he could have easily just glazed over. But like, he knows when my wife goes to Cracker Barrel and she gets biscuits, like this is what she wants. And like, those are the things that when you're married to someone long enough, like, it's not about the big stuff. It's like, that's my person and he knows me. Like,
that's what's up.
Man, I love that.
So that's, I love the fact that you know what I'm saying?
I love it.
You gave him some props on that. So my question would be this though. So what if he forgot something that you told him to get? Do you still treat him with the same kind of grace? Or is it, cause like, let's be honest. It's
sure,
like, you send us to the store to get something and we forget it. But let's just say 9 times out of 10, he's on it.
Yeah.
And let's say you're the one that's always, just forgetting something or whatever. So when he forgets something, do you give him grace or do you be like, so you go in on him? How does that look?
You can answer that.
How does that look?
Because I think I do.
Okay.
She really does.
Okay.
I mean, and I'm not saying it because she's sitting beside me, but like, she's not going to nag me about something. She's not that wife. So it's, And I hardly ever mess up.
See, that's that car salesman in him. He'll sell you anything. That's what's up, though. But I like, we love interacting with couples. Especially couples that are enjoying life, no matter how life is lifing. But that enjoys life, enjoy being around each other. Because it's amazing to me how you can be married to somebody and then you don't want to go somewhere with them, and you're wanting to always be split apart. I was like, well, why are you married?
Right.
If I can't enjoy you, and I genuinely want you to go with me, then something's wrong. We got to go back to the drawing boards. But that's good. Last question, man, we got on the table.
Let me add to that question
that
you just went over. Was I often think about when we get married, we really pay attention to the vows, you know, because it talks about the sickness and health and all these different things. And I always say it's like a preview of a movie. It's letting you know what's to come.
Yeah.
You got what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
so,
you don't think like that on your wedding day.
I don't think like that on
Don't.
wedding day. But what I've
blissful.
learned, the beauty of it and what strengthens the marriage is when you can work through those moments that's coming.
Yes.
They
Yes.
come
I agree.
in some shape or form. They're coming. So when you work through them, it really brings you
Yeah.
closer. And so I challenge every marriage couple to look at it like that. Look at those moments as stepping stones that's going to strengthen us to make us stronger, and not just an out to get out of what we already, you know, that God has ordained for us.
Yeah.
Amen.
I agree. No, like you're spot on with that, because like when you're going through it, you don't, it's like, man, this sucks. You know what I'm saying? You got that knot, those knots in your stomachs, you know, man, I got to go in here. I got to talk to my wife. We got to handle this. We got to sit down and have this conversation. Don't know how it's going to go. So all that is just built up. Then once you get by it, get through it, you grow through it as you go through it. And then it's like, man, I love you even more.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you know,
You feel so proud of yourself after.
Yes.
Because you're like,
Absolutely.
you know, a few years ago, the way that we handled communication or lack thereof is totally different than now. But it's
Yes.
because we just kept trying to figure out a new way. And, you know, with the help of peers that are in our circle, or, you know, the counselors that we see, it's,
Mhm.
you know, you don't know how to be married when you get married.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah,
You don't know.
It's a becoming process.
It is. It is. And
Yeah.
you're standing there exchanging rings and vows, and you're like, I love you till the day I die.
Yeah.
And then,
Butterflies and rainbows.
yes,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's supposed to be that way, or we wouldn't get
Right,
married,
right.
right? But, you know, the commitment to the process.
Yes.
Commit
Come
to
on,
the
that's good
process,
stuff. Yeah.
because that is, at the end of the day, like, you loved this person for some reason.
Mhm.
Amen.
So
You sought after them, you chased them. So,
Yeah.
like, it's a refining process for the rest of forever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's not a one and done. Like, it's ever evolving.
Oh yeah.
you committed, like you said, committed to the process.
Mm-hmm.
So how does it look when you see your spouse is going through some type of mental some type of mental issue? Do you approach that? Do you approach each other? Do you recommend somebody approach your spouse and say, "Hey, man, I noticed you kind of been off this." How do you recommend? Like, what do you do if you see your spouse is dealing with some mental issues?
We speak to each other.
Mm-hmm.
We're pretty good, I think, on the transparency when we see something's off.
Yeah,
Hadn't always been, not
Nope.
because we didn't want to, but because we didn't have the tools.
Mhm.
100%.
You know, we loved each other. We've always cared about each other, but it's like, you don't know what you don't know.
Mhm.
So you might miss something, or you might not know how to communicate something. And so it takes a lot of, like, okay, we missed the mark. Let's try again.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't say what I needed to say this time around because I wasn't sure how to say it.
Mm.
But how do we come back to each other where there is an open floor? You know, how do we set boundaries in our communication with each other? If one of us isn't ready to talk about something, or the other one wants to talk right now, like, okay, well, we can't let this linger forever,
Oh yeah.
but like, we don't need to talk right in this moment. So can we agree on like when to come back to this?
That's good.
And early on in your marriage, you don't always know how to do that,
That's good
you
stuff.
know? So I would think, you know, we've gotten a lot more transparent with each other, where if you're with someone long enough and you're really emotionally attuned to them and emotionally attuned to yourself, those things become a lot more seamless. Of we know the rules that we're playing by now,
Mm.
because we created them for ourselves.
Mhm.
Like, there's no handbook for marriage.
Yeah.
There's guidelines that generally people follow, but you got to figure that out for you and your spouse.
Maggie is sharp.
Yes. She uses wisdom too.
Sharp.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I mean,
She is, man.
Yes.
I mean, and like she said, not to take anything away from it, you know, sometimes for me, I can't speak for all men. It's hard to verbalize things. So,
Come
you
on.
know, write it down.
Mm.
I mean, you know, write it down how you think it should sound, and give it to him in a letter
Yeah.
or a note. You know, I've done that from time to time.
Yeah.
She's done that for me sometimes. You know, I mean, I think that's human nature, that, you know, by saying something, you might say something out of line, but if you have time to gather your thoughts and write it down,
Yeah.
it's going to be better. So,
We you know, when we've like we've said throughout this podcast, we're not perfect and we've had a lot to learn.
Oh yeah.
We're good about leaving notes for each other
Mm-hmm.
when we haven't handled it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sticking it on the dash of the car so that maybe what we were discussing the night before or there were hurt feelings about, it's not 100% resolved, but you get in your car knowing like I'm still on your team, like I'm here for you,
Yeah.
and we'll keep going. Like we'll this isn't like where this argument ends or this disagreement or this conflict.
Yeah.
You know, if you're living amongst people, you're going to have conflict.
Right.
So just kind of that reassurance of, all right, we scattered from this situation. We cooled off. I'm still here for you. Like I still love you. Like just that reassurance.
That's good.
That's
I like
good.
that. Man, this is turning into marriage couples
I love
type stuff. You know what I'm saying?
I love
We'll have to get you guys on for real when we do a married
'Cause it's
couples,
coming.
like
Yeah.
like about 6 or 7 couples, bring them in and we just
the conference
kinda
room. Yeah.
just go at it on
Yeah.
marriage, because it's always good to talk marriage around married couples so that
Yes.
people can get insight.
Yep.
You know, and they can see their flaws. They can see where they're doing great at. They can see the areas where they need improvement at.
Mhm.
And then when it's all said and done, we're all here on the same team.
That's right.
You know, we're all on the marriage team.
It's good.
So my last question would be, how has taking a proactive approach to caring for your mental health strengthening your bond? I think we kind of hit on this earlier,
Yeah.
but just go ahead and answer that for us. How has taking a proactive approach to caring for your mental health strengthening you guys' bond?
I think like we had said, or I said before, you know, having those tools in your tool belt to be able to cope with what you're going through, but also pour back into your spouse in a way that is unselfish and you're there for them as well. And it just, like you said, strengthens the bond because you're both on the same team.
Yeah.
You know, it's a level playing field. You're not out for each other.
Right.
You know, so without having those tools in your tool belt, being having that person that you're confide in that's outside of the household, whether it be a counselor, a therapist, what's whatever it is, to give you those tools or those coping mechanisms, whatever you're going with, will help you bring that back inside the house with your spouse, to continue a great marriage, a great engagement. If you're engaged or you got a boyfriend, girl, whatever it may be, if you're trying to strengthen that and be better, it all starts with you first.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not well mentally, it's going to pull right on in to that house.
That's good. That's good.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I will echo what he said. Anything that's not proactive is reactive.
Oh, that's good.
And we've handled a lot of things reactively.
Come on, elevate your mind, elevate
You know?
your life. This is the elevated chat room.
Yep,
The Stutts in here. They bringing it.
You know, and so you have to do twice the work when you're reacting to something, you know, more energy and going back to what I said before, you don't know what you don't know. So when you've reacted to something that, looking back, hindsight, you can see so much more clearly. It's like,
Yes.
okay, we didn't know how to handle that the first time around,
Mm-hmm.
but we know now what we don't want it to look like. So how do we continue to educate, pour into ourselves? And I say this often to people that I work with, and I believe it for myself too. You know, he mentioned your tool belt, your toolbox. What was in your toolbox at 18 may not be what you need in your
Come on.
toolbox at 25,
Come on.
at 37. You're always going to need some basics, right? Like
Yeah.
you get a little toolkit and it's going to have a hammer, screwdriver, tape measure, you know, those kinds of things.
Yeah, the foundation.
The foundation, you need the
Yeah.
foundational tools, but when you realize something's not working for you anymore or not serving you, there are many other tools.
Better get that skill saw.
Exactly. But, you know, we've had to learn over the years of being married, of facing challenges. Like we've got our core tools in there. And as long as we're taking care of ourselves, we can be good to each other, but we also have to believe in each other. You know, we're our biggest support. So, if you're not working on your marriage, it's working on you, you know? So
That's good stuff.
Dropping them bombs, man.
Oh man, got them gems. Man. Well, Well, that's what's up, man. Y'all have been tremendous. Like I said, we look forward to getting you guys back on the show when we do a marriage episode. Y'all got anything else y'all want to share? Dwayne, you got anything?
So y'all have anything else? Any closing remarks? Anything at all?
Man, I just want to thank you guys for what y'all do and allowing us to be part of this podcast. It's
Yes,
our
sir.
first one ever.
Yes, sir.
So
Y'all did excellent, man. We was glad to have you guys.
thank
Glad to
you
have
so
you guys.
much. We appreciate the Rescue Me project and what it does for the community.
Yes, sir.
And
Absolutely.
you guys investing your time and your hearts into what you do. It means a lot.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it, man.
And I know this has been about, marriage journey, but it never ceases to amaze me, individuals that I meet that have not heard enough about mental health
Mhm.
or had the opportunity to receive mental health services, whether it be, a lack of access to means or mental health is not talked about in the family.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But there's always resources out there. There's always someone that's willing to listen. And 988's the national suicide hotline. And so you never know what someone's going through.
Yeah.
And so if nobody hears anything else from this platform
Mhm.
today, this message is that you're not alone. You're not alone in your feelings. There's support and resources out there, and don't stop trying until you find the right one that works for you.
Where can they find you at?
Me?
As a counselor.
Well, I work at UNA.
Okay. Oh,
So I work with college students that are actively enrolled on the campus, but there's a plethora of counselors in the area that
okay.
psychologytoday.com, put in your zip code and you can look at
Yes.
profiles and see
Good.
who might be a good match, but
Say that one more time.
psychologytoday.com.
Y'all got it.
It's good.
I'm not paid or sponsored by that. I'm just,
Ain't nobody getting paid. We all volunteer around here, baby.
Absolutely. Listen, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Elevated Chat Room. We thank Maggie and Mr. Blake Stutts for this phenomenal conversation. We appreciate you so much. Zoe, you got anything else before we close out?
Elevate your mind.
Elevate your life. Let's go.
We out.